Hello everyone, so today we're going to be doing a tutorial on how to raise Hyprland step by step. So this is going to be more of a how to craft your own Hyprland configuration and not like installing someone else's files. So right now I'm in Hyprland, which you can install by typing in pacman-s Hyprland, kitty, Weber and Wofi, which are the dependencies. You might also need to install Rofi-Wayland, which we will use later on in the video. So here we have Hyprland. You can go ahead and launch the kitty terminal by pressing Super C and close any of the windows with Super C. So launch a window with Super Q actually, and it's Super C to launch or close a window. Super R to launch Wofi, which we just installed. Now the look of Wofi is going to depend on your GTK theme. I'm using this Everforest Dark GTK theme, so my Wofi looks like this. It might look different for you. So first thing we want to do is get rid of the auto-generated config. So I'm going to use NeoVim for this tutorial here, even though I'm used to using Emacs, but I thought all of you would be using NeoVim. And so you want to go to .config hyprland.conf and you want to, what's this? Okay, so here is the auto generated equals one line. We can just remove all of this actually. This does not matter that much, and we can just get rid of that warning here. And oh my god, NeoVim. Okay, so right now we have our Hyprland config file. There's not much to change in here since we installed Rofi-Wayland. So you need to install Rofi-Wayland like so, and just typing this command, because Rofi is an application launcher that I'd say is much better than Wofi. Wofi is actually supposed to be like Rofi for Wayland, but it's just really bad. So once you install that, you just want to add this change command to Rofi-show vrun, and now if you press Super R on your Hyprland, it should bring up Rofi. And if your Rofi looks ugly, all you can do is open up the Rofi theme selector and pick any of these themes. I'm just gonna pick this one right here because it does look pretty good and it looks good. It's the default one. We'll change it. File manager, feel free to change it to whatever you want. I'm gonna choose Nemo here, so I accidentally quit this text editor. And now if you press Super E, it should bring up Nemo, your file manager. And we have auto start. Here you might want to add some stuff, so we're just gonna add a exec once. So exec once is the command that you use to add any sort of auto start programs. So I'm going through this very quickly, the config file. So exec once, and then type in equals, and example is already here. You can type in something like Weber, and you will add Weber. Now Weber is the status bar for Hyprland. If I go ahead and add a xtg, wait a minute. So this is just an example Weber config. So this is going to be the default Weber config file, and this is what it's going to look like. And we will configure Weber just in a moment right now. So first we can just tweak our Hyprland key bindings and all that. So here we have the Hyprland animations. I'd say just don't mess around with this because by default it's already good. If you're like me, I like turning off my animations. I mean, I'm not a Hyprland user right now, but I still like turning these off. But for the sake of this video, I'm gonna turn this on as well. And we should have key binding somewhere here. Here's the Hyprland key bindings. Again, this is all in .config hyprland.conf. This is gonna be the default config for Hyprland. So we're just gonna change super return to launch up a terminal. So now if I press super enter, I should be able to launch my terminal, as well as super W to kill active. And I don't actually use macOS or anything, I just got used to that. And we have super M exit, just don't play around with those, it's your choice. change the key bindings to whatever you want. You don't need to follow my tutorial for this. And that's pretty much the Hyprland config file. And you might also need to change the monitor scaling here from auto to auto 1. So this is going to be the scaling, and I like setting it to 1 just because it's a little I have a really small monitor, so that's why I like having it set to 1. If you're using like a 4K monitor, you might want to set it to like 1.25, and that really looks good. And next up, we're just gonna configure VBAR, the status bar. So VBAR, as I said, this is the default config. So you can go into .config VBAR, configure it. I already have a VBAR configuration for Sway, but just ignore that. We're gonna make a folder here, .test. You don't need to do this. All you need to do in .config VBAR is make sure that there's a file called config.jsonc and style.css. If not, you can just execute this command right here. And then what we can do is actually take a default config or example config from VBAR. So we launch up our Rofi menu with Super R, and we open up our browser. I'm gonna open up Firefox for demonstration purposes here, and we're gonna do VBAR GitHub here. Search for that. Go into the Alexis VBAR wiki here. You're gonna go to the wiki, then in here go to examples. Here we have a lot of VBAR examples. You can even see my own example here, but just don't use this because this is for Sway. A lot of these are for Sway, but we can make it compatible with Hyprland if you want to. I think there's one here called Anix Superbar. Let's see. And there should be one called Superbar here. Yeah, here it is. So here's the Superbar. This is what we're going to be using. Again, this is just an example config. You can change it however you want to. Doesn't really matter that much. So here you should see a config and style. So I'm just gonna open that up with a NeoVim here. So I'm gonna open up .config VBAR. Now what you would do is open up config.jsonc, but I'm just gonna test config.jsonc and open this up, and I'm just gonna copy this over here and paste it in. Alright, so now we've got that, and then we edit the .config VBAR test style.css. Again, you don't need to add the test in here, and we're gonna go to style.css, edit this, paste it in. Now if we do VBAR config and VBAR style like so, you don't need to do this. If you're putting it in .config VBAR config.jsonc and .config VBAR style.css, VBAR will automatically detect it, so there's no problem with that. And now we've got a VBAR config. Now for this Hyprland configuration, I'm going to be using Node as the color scheme because I've never really tried it out. Seems cool, so I'm going to try it out here. So we're going to have to change this entire config here. So this is around the time where I usually just don't do this manually. I just ask some AI to change the colors for me, to be honest with you. I don't use any of the example configs, to be honest with you. So what I'm gonna do is do a quick time lapse of me going ahead and changing these to Node. So we're gonna search up Node here, and yeah, they have like a website and all that. We're gonna take this background and paste it in here. Border, I have no idea what that's about. So we're gonna go test and then VBAR C config like so. CSS 17 unit is missing. Okay, let's see what this is. No idea. Oh yeah, I need a 2 here. So right now we've got our VBAR, and this actually looks pretty good right now with the Node. So I think this is okay, and we obviously have lots of stuff here. from this Weber config. I don't really care about lots of these, but we've got our Weber config like this. I'm just gonna leave it here. So what you can do is, this is just CSS. Everyone should know CSS, right? So just edit this however you want. Yeah, I don't really care about this, so I'm just gonna quit new vim here because this already looks a bit good. Since I'm speed running through this basically. So what you want to do is speed run through your rice, because I like setting up rices very quickly. Then you're gonna want SWW. This is the wallpaper daemon. You can also use Hyperpicker if you want. The reason I don't use Hyperpicker is because you need to configure it. I'm not a fan of configuring my wallpaper picker, so I just use SWW. The way it works is pretty simple. Just type in SWW image and then the path to your image. In this case, we're gonna just select, let's see what's in here. Let's pick this one, press enter, and if it gives this error, then we need to run SWW daemon. So I'll run it like so. Just run that, and you already have a color scheme coming on in here. You can just take this, add that, and now you have your SWW wallpaper looking beautiful again. So if you want this Weber to be like, hey, I want to close my terminal but I don't want this to go, so all you can do is take this, paste it in here, type and boom. So now you have it running even if you close your terminal. So now we're gonna go back to a Hyprland config, because what we want to do is edit our Hyprland config to auto start stuff like our wallpaper daemon, SWW, Weber, and also set a wallpaper. So we're gonna open up with nvim here. We're gonna open up hyprland.conf, and yeah, I hate NeoVim. So we're just gonna open this up, go to auto start. We already added Weber in here, remember? So we added Weber, so we don't have to worry about that. We can add the SWW wallpaper daemon. A good tip, always add comments explaining what each thing does. It's really useful when you're going back to your config, reading a lot of the stuff. So we're gonna type in SWW-daemon. That's all we need basically. And right now we have a base Hyprland config. We still need to customize our terminal, which I will not cover in this video. I'll cover that in another video. Here we have Rofi, which maybe we can change. So we can go ahead and close out all of these basically. And yeah, my SWW daemon so killed. So a great program to set your wallpaper is actually Waypaper, and I don't think it's in the Pacman repos. Yeah, it's in the AUR, so you can get it from there. Just install it, open it, and you'll have your Waypaper here. So I'm just gonna run Waypaper actually to set my wallpaper. I'm gonna go wallpapers extra and just wait for it to cache its wallpapers. You can press Super V to enter floating mode with something. So it's just gonna wait for it to cache the wallpaper, and make sure that the method here is SWW, and choose pretty much anything you like. I'm just gonna choose this one right here. Looks really good. Maybe this. Yeah, that looks great. So right now we have a base Hyprland configuration. You've got our app launcher, which is the next thing we're gonna be customizing. So dockconfig Rofi, and since this is a default theme, I'm just gonna go to themes here and type in hyper.racing. So this is gonna be an empty theme because I'm gonna open up another terminal. You could also launch a new tab like so, and I'm gonna cat. Well, first I'm gonna save this actually. I'm gonna click on hello and save this. That's not how you're supposed to add a comment, but doesn't matter. You're gonna cat user share Rofi, and then we can run Rofi here. Go to Rofi theme selector, pick the one we want. So in this case I'm gonna go with another one. For example, we got full screen. I'll go with grow box. Actually looks pretty good, but doesn't go well with node, Is there node here? No. So what we're gonna do is grab a node theme from the internet, because why not, right? So we're gonna go to the GitHub, and yeah, we've got a node Rofi theme here, so we're just gonna take that. So this is how you really write your own config. You just have to take lots of stuff from internet, modify them, and then do whatever you want. You never really write stuff from scratch, except for maybe the Weber config. I write my Weber config from scratch. For the Rofi, I just take a default config and style it from there. So now if we open up Rofi theme selector, search for our hyper.resi, yeah, we have that here. There we go. It's a little error, you shouldn't get that. Rofi theme selector, hyper, and alt A to exit the theme. So right now we've got a node config, looks good, and I'll cover the terminal in another video. For now this works. And right now we've got a base Hyprland setup. So we've got our app launcher to launch our applications, and we've got our bar to see like the status and all that. We'll also need a Polkit agent. So what Polkit agents do is show these prompts that say, hey, this application is asking for your root password, should you enter it? And then you can just enter it like that. So we'll install a gnome-polkit. This uses GTK3, or it's actually called polkit-gnome actually. And yeah, we got that. So then you can turn user lib polkit gnome. This is what it's called. So you can just copy this command. I'll leave this in the description for you. And edit dot. No, I do not want to edit my video. Go to .config hyperland.conf. Auto start. I'm being really fast here. Oh my god. And add a one. Oh yeah, polkit. Okay. So we're just gonna do this. Add this guy, and we should be fine to go. So if I open up a program like Timeshift, you can see it brings up this very nice prompt that says, hey, you want to give your password? So we're just gonna do that. Now hook up this, and now we can close out the terminal, and it will still be running. So here we've got, oh, I don't want to exit my OBS. So right now we've got a Hyprland setup. Maybe we can change the border and all that. So we've got a border here. I'm actually gonna go with pure white. So and we 255, 255, 255, and 1. So make sure to add no spaces here. If you add spaces, it's gonna be meh. It's not gonna work. So that's how Hyprland is. Don't blame me. And we can add RGBA 100, 100, and 100 for the inactive window. So you've got that. So right now the inactive windows have a dark border and the active ones have a white border. You can change around a lot of key bindings and all of that. So we can change like the border size to like 4, and I'm gonna choose 2 here. And right now we have some humongous gaps, which I'm just gonna change to be 2, maybe 4 or 8 will do fine. And yeah, these small gaps are just better in my opinion. Actually, no gaps at all are better. And we can do 4 rounding, because I'm not a fan of rounding, animations, blur, none of this. I don't like any of that. We can dim our inactive windows if you want to. So you can do 0.8 for the inactive window. You'll see how the inactive windows have a dim for them. That's pretty cool, I'd say. We also have the layouts. So if we search for a layout equals, or a layout, and yeah, here I have the layout. Oh yeah, dwindle. So I'm more of a master guy, but you can choose whatever. Dwindle is this layout basically, this one right here, the one that follows your mouse and all that. And then master is the classic good old DWM stackless layout. So this is what the master stack layout looks like. You'll have one master window and this stack right here with all of these children windows basically. And let's go ahead and change the animations actually. Fade is the workspaces. Change it to slide to make it look pretty good. And again, I don't like animations, but you've got that. And you can change the bezier here to ease out wing. I think it's a 1. And ease out quint here as well. And yeah, it should be a little better now. I'm guessing this right here is the speed, which we're gonna set to 4 to make it a little bit smoother. So right now we've got that smooth workspace animation as well, which is really nice. So those are some nice features of Hyprland, the workspace animations. And if you want to add a opacity here, opacity, active opacity, I like setting this to 0. I like setting it to just regular 1, but you can set it to 0.9. This is to experiment with the blur actually. You're gonna set passes to 4, and you're gonna see some crazy amount of blur on your windows like so. Not a fan of the crazy amount of blur. I'll go 2 and 12, which is pretty much the same exact thing, but okay. Right now we have a good Hyprland config. It's customizable obviously. We can have a good app launcher here. We can have a good blur here. We have dim inactive windows. We have the blur for the focused windows. We have some insane amounts of blur. We have a good app launcher, which I think I already mentioned. We have a good bar here, which we can change if you want to. And we have a good setup right now. So this is when you should get started with Hyprland. This is how you should get started with Hyprland. We also need notifications, because if you were to use something like Discord here, so in this case I use webcode, and webcode tries to send a notification, it will crash if there's no notification name. The one I use is Marco, but it doesn't have lots of cool features, so you can use sway and see if you want to. I'll just show you what it looks like. Why not? So we're gonna open up sway and see. Sway and see, you can add this to your auto start, pickle Marco, and sway and see here. So now we have sway and see running. Now if I send a notification, you can sort of see how sway and see sends a notification here. This is obviously not a Marco. So if it was Marco, I run Marco, I run the notify send again. This is what Marco is gonna look like. It's pretty simple, to be honest with you. Dunst, this is gonna be Dunst right here, and so you can use any of these are customizable. I'm not covering that in this video. I'm a Marco fan because Marco is incredibly simple to configure. So this right here is the Marco config file, compared to something like the sway and see config file, because if I do an ls xdg sway and see and actually cat out like the config.json here, you can see how complex the sway and see config is. So it's using a style as well, which I don't really like it, So right now we've got a Hyprland setup running really fine. So I will make some sort of part 2 on this, customizing the terminal and all that, a lot of the keybinds and all that. But for now, you've got this. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. So make sure to like the video, subscribe, whatever, I don't care. So bye bye.